Welcome back to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, a show where we bring real conversations, resources, and expert guidance to the families navigating the journey into senior living. I'm your host, Dale Corpus, a senior transition specialist and real estate expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm also part of the sandwich generation, just like many of you, juggling work, raising kids, and figuring out care for aging parents. That's exactly why I started this podcast. The resources and guidance we need are often fragmented, so this show brings it all together in one place. Today's guest is someone who plays a vital and often overlooked role in the senior transition process. Stephanie Liu, the owner of Junkluggers of Walnut Creek and La Miranda. Stephanie helps seniors and their families clear out clutter and unwanted items with compassion, professionalism, and care. She's also in the Rotary Club of Moraga and BNI and brings a deep understanding of what it really takes to downsize with dignity. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we help families navigate senior living, real estate, and everything in between. Hosted by Senior Transition Specialist Dale Corpus, this show brings you expert insights, real solutions, and stress-free strategies to make senior transitions simple. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
We're back, everybody. Happy Tuesday, Stephanie. How are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm good. I had a great trip past Memorial Day weekend. I got back from Truckee and it was really good. Did some hikes, got just re-energized, and I am ready to kill it this week. And we're going to kill it this week just with this podcast, right? So I want to start off with your story. So let's start what led you to start a business focused on junk removal and downsizing.
I would say just with kind of almost a natural path, but not a straight and narrow one. I'd spent most of my time working in W-2 jobs, and I spent a lot of time in finance and a lot of time in fashion. And while I was in fashion, I did see a lot of inadvertent waste, and it wasn't a purposeful waste. It was just sort of a byproduct of what the industry was. And then my last position, I was at a company, a startup in the Valley that makes robot arms to store trash and recycling using AI. And just being there, I was able to see how they were saving one piece of junk, saving the planet one piece of trash at a time. And so after I left there, I really took a step back and I wanted to continue that journey.
Yep.
And again, not a straight and narrow path. One of our friends was graduating from B school, and we asked them, we're like, what are you and all your friends doing? And all of their friends were like, we want to work for ourselves. We want to be able to make an impact and not have to go through so many layers. So a lot of these grads were buying franchises from baby boomers that had aged out of owning the franchise and wanted to sell it off, but into like very capable and motivated and excited hands. Right. So, my better half and I, we Googled franchises within the eco-friendly space, and Junkluggers came up. So we had a great conversation with them, and we dove in.
Nice. Now, can you tell us more about the Junkluggers of Walnut Creek and La Miranda and the mission behind your company?
Yes, Junkluggers of Walnut Creek and La Miranda, we do, the motto is like junk removal the green way. But what does the green way mean? I mean, everyone talks about greenwashing and having this umbrella of greenness. I like to say we really put our money where our mouth is. After we go to a home, we remove the items, but we sort while we're removing and we see what we can donate. My crew is great. We sit there and we pack the truck based on where we want to divvy out our donations. Is this going to go to Habitat for Humanity? Okay. Is this going to go to Youth Homes of Concord? And based on what we know about those different companies and what they're looking for and what they're accepting, that's how we sort. And we just plot our little path along the way.
Got it. No, so how is your company different from all the other competing junk removing companies out there in the Bay Area?
We really, really do focus on rehoming, recycling, and upcycling. I'm actually have been on the hunt to look for upholsterers because I come across beautiful pieces that just need a facelift. For instance, we cleaned out this wonderful house in Orinda, and they had a ton of Louis XV furniture. Cats had gotten to it, so all the upholstery was clawed up, but the bones were still there. They were beautiful. The cats hadn't chewed on anything, but they don't make furniture like that anymore. And, especially Louis the 15th that was clearly imported from France.
Mhm.
Like, that's amazing. I want to save that. I don't want that to go to the landfill.
Okay, now I get it. Now, why did you decide to focus on serving seniors and their families as a core part of your business?
Because it's the human business. It's the really human part of junk removal. And I really love people and I appreciate the stories that everybody has to tell. And it's hard. It's not easy to spend your life growing up, raising a family or not raising a family and just, having relatives come in when you are no longer able to take care of yourself or take care of your home. And it's hard to go from independence and transition maybe to a place where someone is really helping you and able to be there 24 hours a day or 12 hours a day. And I think that a lot of seniors, not all of them, probably have a difficult time from going from complete independence to being dependent
Yeah.
on a group of people.
Yeah, I get that. Now, switching topics a little bit, how does your involvement with Rotary and BNI influence the way you approach service and community?
Rotary and BNI really tap into, my ethos, just the way I try to live my life in general. I mean, Rotary itself, the motto is service before self. So
Okay.
not only do they help the community, they help the world. They have the Moraga Rotary Club is currently working on a project in Congo.
Oh,
And, they help the local high schools around. I was just at an Interact meeting for young high schoolers at Camp Alindo.
okay.
And they're really involved in the community and they're involved in other communities as well. So it's not just, pick a community and only stay there. It's really, they love to spread the love. And I feel that the same thing applies to BNI. It's a group of professionals that own their business
Yeah.
and want to promote it and grow it. But there's really an altruistic feeling to everything. And it's a very go-giver society. We recommend people, we connect people. It reminds me a lot of like a living version of Outliers.
Okay, got it. Let's segue now into some questions related to how you help seniors downsize. So I know downsizing can be emotional. What are some of the most common challenges seniors face when letting go of items?
I think it's really an emotional tie.
Okay.
They have a collection of wonderful items that they've collected over their entire lives, and they have memories associated with each one. Like, oh, this is a plate that I got from Europe during the 1930s, and it reminds me of when I was riding a gondola with my husband or my wife.
Right.
And it's really being thoughtful and kind and listening
Mm-hmm.
and helping them figure out what is going to help them move on to the next phase of their life and what is potentially like clutter. But I also think it resonates with seniors that I do everything I possibly can to make sure that their items that we remove have a second life.
Okay.
So, I mean, not only when we remove it and I donate it, I'll get a receipt from whichever charity I've donated it to, and then I'll give it back to that senior.
Okay. A related question is, how do you help families navigate the sentimental side of decluttering?
I often pull in a professional organizer,
Okay.
one that I partner with, and they're wonderful. And they really help drive the message home of, okay, how do we sort of streamline your life? Where do we position things that mean a lot to you
Yeah.
in your house? What have you used? What have you not? And it's really the partnership of both of us being empathetic and sensitive and really listening to the senior and what are their goals? What do they need? What would they like?
Yeah. So what's your process like when someone calls you for help? What happens from that first contact to job completion?
When someone initially reaches out, they either find us through maybe a print or a lawn sign or word of mouth. And they either call me or text me or just book online. And I'll call them for an estimate. And I also ask them to send me pictures. Or I'm happy to go over there and I love to go on site and meet them and look at what they'd like me to remove. Once that's created and an estimate is agreed upon, then we set a date. And my awesome crew and I would come in and we remove it all. And it's gone within a matter of hours.
Quick. All right. Nice and quick and easy, huh? And can you share an example of a senior move where your team made a big difference?
Yes, we had someone who'd had their partner had passed away,
Okay.
probably say, almost a decade before we'd found them or we'd connected with them. And they had a lot of their partner's old items
Okay.
and said that, and they had recently and very sadly and heartbreakingly had just lost their mom, which was one of their best friends. And this client just she said she felt really suffocated,
Yeah.
and all of these items were heavy, but not in a bad way. Just
Right.
there was so much to get through. And she said for her, it would have taken her years to clean out all of these items. And we did it within a matter of 2 hours. And once we took it out, she stood there. I remember this image is like burned in my mind. She was standing in her doorway,
Hmm.
looking at a large open space. And she's like, wow, I feel lighter. I feel better. And I really wish my mom was here to see this. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I said to her, I was like, she is. She's here. She can see it and she can feel it. And she said, thank you. I could have never done this without you. You've helped me in so many ways that you have no idea. So that makes it worth it. Those types of things helping people really, really make it worth it, because everybody knows that feeling of being overwhelmed and just not having the strength to go through things for hours and sort things out, because they bring back memories and then you
Yeah.
push them aside, and it's like it's a cycle that just keeps going and going. So
Yeah. And it's such like, it feels so nice. It gives you that sense of purpose when somebody says something like that to you, I'm sure makes you want to keep going, right?
it's
Um,
very motivating.
and another question related to seniors, what kinds of items do you typically remove for seniors?
We remove everything, anywhere from sheets, clothes, treadmills that have become clothing racks. We take away, we were asked to look at a boat recently. We take away lawnmowers, everything besides, maybe like very hazardous waste. But even then, we've found places where we can responsibly recycle it.
Okay. I'm curious. I know you sometimes donate, you also recycle, and then sometimes you hold a landfill, I'm sure. Like,
Mhm.
how do you decide what goes where? What gets donated, what gets repurposed, and what goes to even landfill?
We have a few different categories. E-waste, we take a ton of e-waste away, and what we do is we partnered with a really great e-waste partner who
Okay.
seniors might have laptops and
Oh,
cell phones, and very very personal items, electronic items that have a lot of their sensitive data on it. And I've spoken to our e-waste person, and they have like a 5-step program on
yeah.
clearing everything out and wiping it and making sure that it's certified. And he takes it a step further. Once they're wiped and cleaned, he donates them back out into the community, maybe local high schools
Okay.
that don't have laptops. And then in terms of sorting the other items, we have furniture that maybe has great bones, but the upholstery needs a facelift. And then also appliances. Appliances might be 10 years old, but they're still in great condition. We'll make sure that it goes to Habitat for Humanity. And we've spoken with them and they say, no appointment needed, come drop it off. And also the same goes for mattresses. It almost feels like there's probably 100
Oh,
categories,
wow.
and we sort everything, and we look at the donatability, the sellability. Can we resell this to help us pay the overhead of, our storage unit,
Yeah.
or the insurance on the truck? So it's the way we sort things is very purposeful. And then it's not squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And
Yeah.
then I get analysis paralysis in the sense where I'm like, I don't even know where to donate this because there's so many places I could
Yeah.
donate to. I've really so far picked a few key partners that I know are really in line with what our ethos is, doing junk the green way. And then in terms of the landfill, I have couches
Yeah.
in my unit. I've had them for 4 months because I don't want to let them go. I think, there's a parlor set when people used to have parlors from the early 1900s. I don't want to let that go. So I've been holding it in hopes and advertising it, and in hopes that I don't have to send it to the landfill because it's a piece of history. Another way is I've started looking at different, like the Alameda Flea. There's
Yeah.
one in Pinole, and it's called Uptown Yard, and we're gonna take a bunch of our items up there and showcase it. and bring it out to the community. And then whatever proceeds are made there, we will donate to proceeds to a charity.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. What's something families often overlook when planning to clean out a home?
I say then one of the number one things is underestimating the amount of time it will take. Sometimes families, there will be whole rooms of items and they'll say, oh, this will take 2 days. But because stack it high, stack it deep, it's going to take time to sort through all of these items and categorize. And then when emotions come into play, people will think, oh, well, I'll put this aside. Maybe I'll sell this for later. So it can take weeks sometimes.
Okay. Let's move into some questions related to family dynamics and emotions. A lot of times just moving stuff, just moving things is so emotional, right? So you're dealing with a lot of that as well. How do you help keep things smooth when multiple adult children are involved?
It's a lot of sometimes it's not a lot of different personalities, but sometimes it can be. And I think just goal setting before we get into the actual removal is very helpful. And then even sometimes the children will say, I'm going to go get lunch. I'm going to go get coffee.
Yep.
You do you, whatever you need, give me a call. And because it's typically around, longer job will take, 4 to 6 hours sometimes, but typically our windows are about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I think going to lunch and getting coffee, it gives the relatives and the families a bit of like a reprieve, because I'm sure they just sit there in the middle of all of this and they're like, I don't know what to do. So we come in, we say, look, there's a time limit. We'll be here for about 2 to 3 hours. They're happy to just leave and take a break. And then when they come back, gone.
Good. It's like you're a magician. It's all taken care of. What advice would you give to a family just beginning the process of helping their loved one downsize?
I'd say the most important advice is try not to keep everything as it has a memory, because then you just keep everything and we won't be able to help you remove items.
Yeah.
But I would say to organize items. To begin, what's helpful is organizing a pile for donations.
Yeah.
And then I would say sorting items into a donatable pile of clothes, small electronics, but also if they want to filter out some of the electronics, they'll make an electronics pile. And then they'll also make maybe like a construction, like lumber pile. A lot of the times homes have gone through a renovation and they have a lot of leftover items from them.
Okay. Now, how can adult children make this process easier and less overwhelming for their aging parents?
I think it would be helpful maybe to bring in a professional organizer, but also to just have a genuine and honest conversation and talking to their loved one and saying, look, I know you might not want to leave your home, and I know you might not want to go to a senior living care center, but we're doing this because we love you. And in order to do this, we need to downsize and donate a lot of these things and get a lot of these items out of your home. And just really level setting and setting expectations. I know it's hard with dynamics sometimes, but yeah, I think that's the best approach.
Okay. Now, what role does clutter play in fall risks or home safety concerns for aging seniors?
I think it plays a large part in it, because if you are stacking it high and sort of playing this balance game, it can if something is top heavy, it can topple over at any time. And if you're an elderly person in maybe, as we age, we shrink, right? So let's say somebody's 5'5" and they shrink down to 5'3", and your bones become more brittle. What if that, heaven forbid, falls on somebody? That's a huge risk. Or if, let's say, the foundation hasn't been taken care of for a number of years, what if there's dry rot? What if there's, paper, stacks of paper is like a smorgasbord for rodents.
Yeah.
So what if rodents are coming in there and eating through that? And let's say you have termites, it can really affect and weaken the structural integrity of the house. And what if the poor senior falls through the floor? And only, it's maybe hard to get to the kitchen, hard to get to the bathroom, hard to clean, hard to get upstairs. What if, everything's stacked up on the stairs and they're trying to move it and then they take a spill down the stairs? Those are the sort of safety risks that we'd be concerned with. But also just, rodents, possibly black widows.
Yeah.
And then if you have animals that you're not able to keep track of that are just running around the house, they can defecate and urinate in different areas, and that can create a lot of other problems as well.
Yeah, that's a lot. Now, when is the right time to start thinking about decluttering? Before or after deciding on a senior living move?
It really depends, I think, on the senior.
Okay.
If the senior is very unwilling to move, I'd say, it's really a case by case basis. If someone is so emotionally attached, maybe it would be best to have that person transition to a senior living center first. But if they are not going to, I would say, hold up, for lack of a better term, like hold up the process by
Yeah.
saying, I want to keep this and this, oh, maybe this. I think it's very much a case by case basis. But if a senior's like, I'm okay with letting everything go, let's do it, I say before. But if someone is really having a hard time and they're very emotional about it, perhaps it's maybe better to move them first and then declutter and after.
Okay. Have you ever seen a situation where waiting too long caused issues for the family?
Yes, I think that if you, in one instance, a family waited, they were continuing to wait even when we were called in because it was oh, wait, but maybe I'll need this. Oh, but wait, maybe I'll need that. And they had a set date where they wanted to move the senior into a living facility. And the date was quickly approaching.
Yeah.
They needed to get the house on the market. They needed to clean it out. They needed to do renovations. They need to stage it. There's so many things in that process. And then if you can't just clean it out first, that it holds everything up. It's a domino effect.
Okay. How much time should families budget for a full clear out or downsizing project?
I think it really depends on the amount of the volume of items inside the home.
Okay.
If I recently estimated a home that it was 60 years worth of items from travels from all over the world,
Wow.
and it was a really big job, and I estimated about 2 to 3 days
Okay.
of full clean. Because a lot of these items were 100% rehomable. There was beautiful mid-century furniture that was, this one lamp. I saw it. I was like, I've been searching for a lamp like that forever. But I know also mid-century antique furniture and vintage furniture stores would take that in a heartbeat and sell
Right.
it for thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's really seeing that and knowing that we would have to carefully wrap it and
Yeah.
take it out and transport it. It really varies. It just, if there's just a few things, then maybe it takes 3 hours.
Okay. Okay. Now you work with realtors, move managers, professional organizers, estate planners, and more. What role does collaboration play in your business?
I think it plays a lot. It's crucial in my business because I like to over communicate because, as I've grown up, I've had firsthand experience, but also witnessed lack of communication. And that creates a lot of gray space and miscommunication. So I think the more you collaborate with someone, the more you communicate, the more you over communicate. I just think that it would make a smoother transition because, that partner, whether it be a professional organizer, a estate planner, a realtor, they'll know things about the client that I won't know.
Mhm.
And I'm coming in for like a finite amount of time.
Mhm.
Whereas, let's say a realtor like yourself will
Yeah.
know all the sort of more intimate details about the family. So there's no dumb questions, so to speak. It's just, you just have to ask away and really partner with your junk removal partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, kind of related question. You built strong relationships with local professionals with your involvement in both Rotary and BNI. How do those partnerships help create a better experience for the families you serve?
It helps build trust. I think you wouldn't think that junk removal and recycling directly pairs with trust,
Right.
but I think it 100% has a direct tie. It's a direct marriage of those two things because we're going into people's homes, we're going into people's establishments. And if I'm involved in the Rotary Club and let's say a Rotarian refers me to one of their closest friends,
Yeah.
they'll trust that relationship. And I think that helps, it helps ease the mind of seniors
Yeah.
because there's a lot of, people with nefarious intents out there. And just removing that layer of suspicion
Yeah.
and bringing in somebody that is trusted, I think that really, really helps. And BNI is the same way. For BNI, you have to show up for your partners. You have to be the best that you can possibly be with their referrals, follow up quickly. That's sort of the ethos of BNI and the go giving, but you're a representation of your business. So if you take months to call a referral back, that's maybe not the best thing.
Yeah.
If you don't call back a referral who's called you, that's not the greatest thing either.
Yep. What do you wish more professionals understood about the emotional side of what you do?
I wish it's not all junk. It's not all junk. These are pieces of people's lives that we're removing. And, it's not Beauty and the Beast, like, the candlestick or Mrs. Potts or Chip. Yes, they're inanimate objects, but they do sort of like have a personality and memory of their own. I guess if you're talking to your tea kettle, maybe that's another issue. But I do truly think that one thing that's greatly overlooked is like these items, the sentimental part of it, the emotional part of it makes them a different level of special.
Yeah.
So if they're treated in a way that's more caring and loving, almost like you treat that, that the bar cart that this person has had since maybe the Great Depression.
Yeah.
That's been like part of the fabric of their lives for so long. If you treat it more like a pet almost, I think that it means the world to a lot of these seniors who are starting to donate and declutter.
So what's your mindset when walking into a home full of memories and clutter?
When I walk in, I think who's lived here, who's living here, what are these memories associated with? How can we make this transition the least difficult, the least harsh as possible? How can we help this family and this person as best that we can?
Okay. What keeps you personally motivated to keep showing up for these families?
I love people. I love helping people. And I just think junk removal and recycling is almost like strangely enough to say, it's like a conduit to meeting new people and helping them. It feels good to help people. It feels good to volunteer. It feels good to really live and breathe service before self.
Man, that's nice. Now, what's the most meaningful feedback you've ever received from a client or family?
There was a customer that we rehomed his baby grand piano. When he was moving to the East Coast, and it's phase 1. We need to take a few items away, and of these few items was a gorgeous baby grand. He couldn't find anybody to take it. Kind of was at a stalemate of who to contact, where to go, and I think the stars really aligned for us. I found someone. It's a music program that I volunteer for with my kids, just in our daily lives. And I texted these photos of the baby grand to the owner of the company. Okay. She put it out into her network, and within minutes, we had a taker. And so the day came when we removed this baby grand, we wrapped it all up, put it into the truck, and then drove it to its next destination, wheeled it in, installed it. And the mom who purchased it for one of her children asked her to take a video of her 9-year-old daughter playing the piano. And just the smile on this little girl's face, it was just gleaming, like hearts popping out of her ears, playing. And she sent me this video, and I sent it back to the original owner, and he was just over the moon. So that was my first interaction with him. And then he brought us back the second time because it was the final move before the final clean out before they actually left and moved out of the state. Wow. And I could tell, he was like, I don't know what to do. We have to donate this. And it's a lot of coordination.
Right.
And so we cleaned everything out, and they had left a bunch of items out for another donation company to come pick it up. And so we did a couple trips there for donations and removals. And when I came back, I guess this donation company had left a few things that, didn't work for, like it was like a camping tent. So they couldn't take that.
Yeah.
So we cleaned it after that. And he just left his home open to us. And they actually had left and flown to Massachusetts where they were moving. And he said, here's the code. He gave me the code to the garage. And I made sure everything was tidied up. I took videos, and his review was it was wonderful. He said that having me there was like having a family member close up after you've left your house. And it really made me feel great. I'm like, oh, I'm doing great work. And I want to keep doing this. I want to keep making people feel like they have a trusted relative there to help them through a stressful time. Like moving is just stressful. Like no ifs or buts about that. So if I can help someone feel like they have a family member, helping them transition through that, that's what I really like. I love.
Yeah, that's a true testament to the amount of trust that somebody has for you. It's like, you did such a good job. Great work. I have another kind of related question. How has the work that you do impact how you view aging and legacy?
I mean, so my mom says this about my dad all the time. She's like, he who dies with the most stuff still dies. And I'm like, Mom, that's so morbid. And she's like, and that quote to me, I'm like, wow, I feel like maybe I have hoarding tendencies. And then when I see all these beautiful things, I'm like, well, maybe I could take it home. But for me, the way I view my legacy and sort of the items in my home now, I'm like, what would I think about every single day if it wasn't in my house? What really truly has meaning? It's sort of like, when you're cleaning out your closet, have I worn this in 6 months? No. Have I worn this in 3 months? No. Have I even, and then clearing out items that way and donating it to certain people. But I already, clothing is a huge thing, because I come from the clothing world, and like children amass clothing, adults amass clothing. I have sort of like a hand-me-down like waterfall. I'll take the items that a couple kids, like my oldest, I have 2 boys. The oldest will grab it, I'll store it, and then I'll swap it out for the youngest when he grows into it. And then I take those clothes and I pass it on to a friend at school. And then once that child is done with those clothes, I'll take whatever clothes he's outgrown, the ones that I've passed along, as well as the others that he's accumulated, and I pass it on to my old neighbor who has 2 boys. So it's really helped me make donation more efficient just in my regular life. And it's helped me not form an emotional bond with everything, because I definitely have, pre-hoarding tendencies.
One of my last questions is, what's one piece of advice you'd give to any family facing a senior transition?
I would say take a deep breath. It's not Rome wasn't built in a day. You can get through this, and I'm here to help you. And I have a wonderful, loving, caring network of professionals to help you as well.
Nice. Final question is, how can someone get in touch with you, learn more about your services, and also what specific areas in the Bay Area do you cover?
To learn about us more, you can always check junkluggers.com/walnut-creek-La Miranda. And then you can check us out on Facebook. We currently service all of Contra Costa County. That's the territory that I own. But there's no Junkluggers of Alameda County or San Francisco Pacifica. So we service those areas as well. And they're pretty large areas. We're always willing to help people out. And you can just call, look online. You can book online, but you can also call our 800 number, 800-LUG-JUNK.
Perfect. Now, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Your passion for helping families downsize with care and dignity really come through. And I know your work is making a huge difference during such emotional transitions. And for those of you watching or listening, if your loved one is considering senior living and you need to figure out what to do with their home, let's talk. Schedule a free consultation by clicking the Calendly link in the video description box below, and learn more about my services at www.simplifyseniortransitions.com. Have a quick question, DM me on Instagram at SoulByDale. And if you found this episode helpful, please take a second to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more families discover the show. And don't forget to share this episode with someone who might need it. Thanks for tuning in. One last thanks for Stephanie again for being on today's episode.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And for everyone else, I'll see you next time on the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast.